Guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing some lyric analysis on Mark's song Child, not Mark's Child. Just some notes. I am going to be skipping around a little bit just because there are certain parts that I want to talk about more than others. And also some of the lyrics are kind of self-explanatory, so I don't want to be redundant. Yeah, this is just my opinion, but we already know that, so let's get into the video. Starting off with the chorus. I love these opening lines. I'm going to say that a lot because I love a lot of these lines in the song, but this one particularly feels like it's obviously just him saying that he doesn't feel like he can live up to people's expectations of him. And obviously, as an idol, really unrealistic expectations are put on you. I mean, even from like the moment you start training to like just like the onset of like actually being in the spotlight, there's just like a crazy amount of pressure put on you. And there's so much more depth added to this when you realize that he started training at a young age. So it would be hard for anyone, but it's that much harder because he is so young. So it's hard to understand, you know, like the scale of everything and to really like stay focused, obviously, when you're just a kid. And there's also pressures in daily life, like to be a good brother and a good son, and there's just a lot going on. So this kind of just feels like him admitting that he doesn't feel ready to take on these responsibilities and to be this person that everybody wants or expects him to be. Moving on to a later part of the chorus where he's sort of asking some specific questions. I think this is really interesting because Mark said that he almost named the song Questions. So I think to him, a big part of the song is this uncertainty and like this just general not knowing feeling. So yeah, just basically in this part, he's asking himself like, who is he to other people? Like, how do other people perceive him? What do they think of him? Do they think of him in a positive or a negative light? And something that may please some people may be condemned by others. It's this like eternal struggle of wanting to know exactly how everyone feels about you at all times and trying to make sure that everyone likes you and you're not, you know, like stepping on any toes. And I think, of course, this is one of those things that applies to everyone, but I think it's particularly interesting for him as an idol. And then also he sort of moves on to the future where he's like, not even who am I now, but who will I become? Like, will I make the right decisions? What will become of me? Like, what does the future hold? Just like that whole uncertain feeling that you'll never know until you truly experience it. This is the conclusion to that previous line where he fears the worst. He thinks that people think negatively of him, that he isn't a good person, that he'll never become one. What I find interesting about this is that there isn't a positive resolution to this train of thought. It's kind of representative of the fact that when one answer comes, the next question comes just as quickly, and you're constantly questioning yourself throughout youth in life as a whole. Now, I forgot about this initially, but the post chorus does sort of offer a resolution to this when he's like, don't waste my time, you'll talk too much. Now, I would like to imagine, even though this is likely not true, but he did say that this song was kind of old, so I would like to imagine that the chorus initially ended with different nights, same nightmare, but then he added on to it when he sort of revisited the song and decided to release it as a station with the post chorus, sort of to offer like a solution from his older self where now he has sort of learned like who to listen to, who not to listen to, like how to deal with people's opinions of him and to sort of just like brush it off and keep going, and that he's like learned more how to grapple with like what people think of him and just balancing their expectations and all of these things. I don't have anything overly revolutionary to say about this, but I just like this because like the whole facade of K-pop is trying to convince you that like these flawed human beings are perfect. So I just like that he just sort of admits that he's just as messed up as everyone else. I had trouble deciding whether the last line should be included in this chunk of lines or if it should be separated, but I ultimately put it in here because I liked it this way more. Basically, he kind of has this dream that he's hyperfixating on. He realizes how much attention he's putting towards it, so much that it might be a bad thing, but he can't stop either. He doesn't really realize how much power could be held in this dream, so he's just sort of stuck in paralysis. I feel like he's just putting all of this time and effort into one thing, and so much so that he doesn't even have perspective enough to like look at it from an objective position and realize whether he's good or not, but he just keeps doing it anyway, almost obsessively. taking a brief intermission to get some insight from the expert himself. So when I got to the red in my Valentino line, I was like, I have no idea what that means. I literally put a question mark next to it in my notes. And then I was just on Twitter one day and I stumbled across this. So yeah, if you want to look at this thread, there's also just like the actual clip where he says this. But I just thought it was really interesting and I think it adds something to the discussion, so I decided to include it. I really love this line, particularly the first one, because this sort of feels like him saying that he would have been fine living a normal life, not just because of the added stress of being a celebrity, but because he would have been satisfied with a simple life too. Yet here he is in the midst of materialism and arrogance and all these things that could really ruin a person because of what he loves. And then moving on to the second half, you sort of have so much at stake. It's like that same concept from before, where there's so much at stake and you've set yourself up to be something, and there are so many expectations that you end up in this constant cycle of conforming. And not to psychoanalyze him, but Mark sort of does strike me as the type of person to be like the golden child. So I feel like I could definitely see him getting trapped in this loop of like always like just being the one who's perfect all the time. So it would be impossible to break that mold or even to be allowed to feel any other emotions other than just going along with things willingly. And this obviously would make him sort of resentful and it would make him want to rebel. So there's just, but again, he can't because of the situation that he's in. So there's just so much pent up emotion and sort of no release for that. Now, if we wanted to put a positive spin on this and make it less angsty, we could say that if this was set in like the trainee days, that maybe he felt like his abilities were like stagnating and he wanted to like explode and like blow up and get even better. But like, I kind of feel like it's more of the first one, and I think that's more interesting to me personally. To the last section that I want to talk about, I feel like we're now in the cool down part of this very explosive second verse. Minor tangent. I absolutely love the delivery of this. I know it's considered the quote unquote third verse on Genius, but I kind of view it as just like the second half of the second verse, which is just happens to be really long. I just love it. I feel like his delivery in this part is so good, and I just love all the little parts to it. Anyway, I feel like this is him sort of accepting the situation for what it is and deciding to thicken his skin as a result rather than giving in or letting it get to him or turn him into someone that he's not. Like, he does mention bitterness, but I think the way he views this bitterness, it sort of comes to him as if all of these thoughts are just spilling out of him, and then he's like, how did I get so bitter? Like, how did this come to affect me so much? And how did something that I once viewed with so much anticipation and really look forward to become such a point of contention for me? It's like almost taken aback. So yeah, I just feel like this is his conclusion and sort of what he's deciding to do in response to all of these questions and all of just everything that's being thrown at him. I know I didn't make it obvious at all, but I do really, really love this song and its lyrics. I also really like the fact that he decided to come out with this as his solo debut because obviously he had a lot of options, but he chose this one. And I think that he chose it because it's something that he sort of related to and he knew that we would also relate to it. And I like that he chose something that sort of had more of a meaning to it, maybe than like with a song with like a really powerful rap or something that would be more fun to dance to. Like, I like that he chose something that was a bit more meaningful and deep, and yeah, I just really love this song. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video.